Perfect. Thanks, Amy. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining acu-connect's July 2021 webinar. We have a great panel today. We've got a couple of guests from different areas of Acumatica, so I will let them introduce themselves one by one. But basically what we're going to be talking about today is, how we use the Acumatica ecosystem to solve problems facing manufacturing companies today. So I'll let them introduce themselves, but just to let you know who is online today on our panel, we have Dennis Easter, the Chief Revenue Officer from Algorithm, the Manufacturing Partner of the Year from Acumatica. We also have Debbie Baldwin, who is the Product Manager directly from Acumatica for the Manufacturing Edition. And we have Joni Girardi, who is from DataSelf, an ISV, a leading ISV in analytics and reporting for Acumatica. So Dennis, Debbie, Joni, do you guys want to go ahead and just introduce yourselves a little bit and give yourselves a little background?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. I'm Dennis Easter. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Algorithm. We've been a business partner with Acumatica for a little over 5 years. And, we're really focusing on manufacturing companies and implementing Acumatica to help them improve their operations.
Thank you. Debbie?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Baldwin, and I am the Director of Product Management for Manufacturing at Acumatica. I've been with Acumatica now for about 3 years, but prior to joining Acumatica, I've been around in the manufacturing space for a long time. I worked in manufacturing for about 15 years as an industrial engineer, cost accountant, business analyst, and then I also consulted for about 8 years and managed other ERP systems that were out there. So I'm real happy to, excited to be with the team today.
Thanks, Debbie. Joni?
All right. So I'm Joni Girardi. I'm DataSelf's founder and CEO.
I think his internet finally caught up to him. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So we've been in business for about 16 years. Manufacturing distribution is about 70%. DataSelf internally for analytics. It's real. Real in Copacabana. Super excited to join the session today.
Thank you. Thank you, Joni. And just for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Chris Joko. I'm the Principal Solutions Architect for the Acumatica department at DSD Business Systems out in California. I've been in the Acumatica space. I've been an Acumatica consultant for the last 8 years. And prior to that, I've been a lifelong ERP consultant working in the Sage ecosystem since the year 2000. So I'm glad to kind of be moderating this panel today, and look forward to talking to everybody. So let me go ahead and just give you guys a little bit of an agenda. What I wanted to do today was kind of first off, give you guys, if you're not already aware of what the Acumatica Manufacturing Edition is, I'll just give you guys a little bit of a brief overview. And then we've got some questions that we'll discuss with the team today so that we can kind of hear from the industry leaders about, what types of things Acumatica is doing for the industry right now. So what is the Acumatica Manufacturing Edition? And so the Manufacturing Edition for Acumatica is an extensive suite of business applications that help streamline production, engineering, and planning. This is spread out among multiple modules that are native to Acumatica. The core manufacturing modules for Acumatica are your bill of materials and your production management modules. These things help with multi-level routing, phantom BOMs, activity-based costing, backflushing material, labor and material tracking. All of those are part of our core manufacturing edition solution. We have additional modules that are optional that also add additional features to the set here. And so we've got material requirements planning where we could do forecasting, master production scheduling. We have advanced planning where we could do rough cut planning and finite capacity scheduling, as well as estimating modules that work with opportunities, things like that, being able to give simple or complex estimates, as well as the product configurator, where we can actually configure products on the fly as we do orders or opportunities or quotes. So we have a lot of modules that are available to help any kind of manufacturing company basically spread their wings. We support a slew of markets, from industrial to electronic-based companies to some cosmetic, metal fabrication. Basically, Acumatica can handle everything, from a manufacturing standpoint. So there's not a lot of areas that we haven't seen success utilizing Acumatica's manufacturing edition. So with that, I'm going to start with basically kind of a question. I'll throw this out to Dennis first off. Dennis, what kind, you've implemented Acumatica Manufacturing Edition for a lot of your clients. What kinds of improvements have your clients particularly seen?
Yeah, Chris, that's, obviously whenever you're going to make a move to a solution, you want to make sure you get the value from it. And we've, seen a lot of our companies, the ones that were implemented prior to, the past 2 years with all the lockdown and the remote work, they were able to transition to that environment pretty seamlessly. And that's, because of Acumatica's accessibility through, the browser being a cloud-based solution. And that's really, that, was a big thing, because we were also working with some legacy products, and they struggled through it because, there they required, RDP and then security issues. And so they had to add VPNs, and it really became hard for them to stay competitive. And another thing that we found is the access to the data that's being collected inside the system is much easier with Acumatica. When you look at the legacy systems, nearly all of the data, the way that you had to get to it was, to use a report writer like Jet Reports or Crystal Reports, and there was maybe one or two people in the company that knew how to develop those reports. And so there's typically a backlog of the reports. And when you got right down to it, people were looking at the same report, but the data was sorted a little bit differently, or maybe a different column was totaled. And so with that, we were able to move that into, being able to consume the information online, using the native Acumatica reporting with the generic inquiries, and the ability to create dashboards, which took a lot of those reports where people were looking at multiple reports, throughout the day, and threw it on a dashboard so that they could really see only the actionable items. So the reporting has really been a big deal, but where we've seen the most value when it comes to the data access is when making the strategic business decisions and providing information to outside parties. For example, we had one customer that they pursued a large big box retailer, and previously when they were on a legacy system, and the amount of data that this customer needed on the onboarding process and the evaluation process, they just weren't able to get to it with the legacy system. And so, once they were on Acumatica, they felt better about the reporting, and they were able to, meet the customer's needs. They onboarded them. That's going to be close to another $1 million worth of business for this company.
Oh, wow.
Substantial growth for them. And then the kicker is that there's a competitor in Ohio. This company is in Oregon. Competitor in Ohio that tried to onboard with the same big box retailer, couldn't provide the information. They just didn't have the tools to do it. And then also operational data.
Mm-hmm.
We had a customer that they had a CNC tube bender, and they were considering adding a drill attachment to it. And with their previous system, they weren't able to get the information to cost justify that purchase. But with Acumatica, the production manager, not the IT, didn't bring in a consultant, but the production manager was able to extract the data of everything that went through the CNC bender and a drill press.
Wow.
Find out how many cycles they were running through in a year, how much time they were spending on that machine. Easy to make that cost justification. And so, really for us, the ability to get to data to make decisions has been, one of those things that our customers are just raving about all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see that a lot too with my existing clients. We've brought a lot of our clients from legacy manufacturing systems, and just the visibility of being able to track the operations, being able to track those steps, even the ease of doing outside processing when it comes to production entries. Those things have been invaluable for our client base. And so I definitely can see how those kinds of, being able to get that information at your fingertips and have it be real time is definitely huge.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So, expanding on that, Debbie, you work for Acumatica. So what types of functionalities have partners and customers alike requested that you guys have added that provides the most value, you think, from Acumatica?
Yeah, first of all, as a product manager, any type of feedback that I get from the customers or the partner is always valuable. Whether it's positive, it's hard to hear sometimes when it's negative, but I respect I respect people that will come to me and tell me that there's a problem, because, my job as a product manager really is to make the product better, to make it easier to use, and ultimately help my customers, to be more productive. So some of the areas I think that since I've been at Acumatica in the manufacturing area, that we've really tried to focus on is, number one, with a lot of people working remotely, then how can I help people to be more mobile? How can they do their job, maybe while they're on the shop floor or away from their desk? So one of the areas that where we added functionality is around mobile and scanning. So we added the ability to scan materials, scan, report time, clock in and out of production orders. So I think that's been a very valuable thing for, because now users aren't tied to that work center. They can walk away and they can do, complete their jobs while they're away from their desk. And then another area, just building on what Dennis said, is, how can I make users more productive? So, dashboards are something that is very valuable for all customers, not just in manufacturing, but, if we can bring those exceptions to the end user so that they walk in at the beginning of their day or they come in after lunch, and those exceptions are sitting there waiting on them to take action on, instead of them having to spend half of their day trying to figure out, well, what production orders am I going to have that are going to be late? What materials coming in late? what customer orders are due today, where am I going to have some issues, what are my hot items that I need to take action on. If you have that information right at your fingertips right when you walk in, then you can start to take action on that. You can kind of get those things out of the way so that you can move on to your, more importantly, getting the product out the door instead of having to put out fires. So that's first and foremost in my mind all of the time. How can I bring that information to my end users and help them to be more productive? And dashboards is one of the things that we've done. So we added a production manager dashboard. We added a engineering dashboard, and we also added like a production meeting dashboard, and that's for you to use in your production meetings. And it's just a starting place, but it's there's some really good inquiries that we built those dashboards from, that users could take those and they could create their own widgets if they wanted to. And then usability issues, they're always important, right? Because how can we streamline processes so that we can help you do your job quicker? Some of the things that we've added, like I think Dennis even talked about outside processing. So we have the ability to handle, sending things out to a subcontractor, but we streamline that process, and we're going to continue to work on that, kind of moving forward. Users ask for the ability to have a better linking of sales orders and production orders, and we've done a little work around that. And then even simple things like when I open up a screen, when I look at production orders, we've done things like change the way that those screens sort. It sounds like a very simple thing, but it makes users more productive if they're sorting in the way that they're actually looking at the data. So those are some of the areas that I feel that we have tried to add the most value, and where I get the best, I've gotten a lot of feedback.
Awesome. I mean, definitely with manufacturing data collection, it's been huge, especially being able to be mobile, pull out a phone, be able to clock my time or clock, material that I'm taking from one section of the warehouse and bringing it to my machinery, things like that. Those have been lifesavers. We're no longer strapped to having, desktop computers being, having to bring a piece of paper over there and being able to scan that. I think just, between what you and Dennis have spoken about, just being able to be a lot more mobile, even within your warehouse, it's definitely a bright spot.
Yeah.
One thing, being at Acumatica, and I'm not sure if you can do anything like this, but can you give us any insight on any other functionality that might be planned for the future to help support the connected manufacturing plant?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not going to give you any timelines, but one of the things that was very apparent to me as I'm walking through trade shows and as I'm walking, even through customers' plants, is that with the way that the last couple of years have gone, with more people working remote, maybe the workforce is not as big as what it used to be. A lot of people are looking at things like additive manufacturing, robots, cobots, the industrial Internet of Things, machines, a lot more machinery. And so it just really hit me that, I have partners and ISVs that have that machine integration, but I believe as we continue to kind of go down this road, more users are going to start to expect that we have machine integration built in to the application, and they don't have to go to an ISV, kind of like labels or anything like that. They just expect you to have it. So that's something I think that we need to look at, both on production, not, production reporting, but also the overall, the OEE, overall equipment effectiveness, and having dashboards around machines and KPIs and showing their, their efficiencies and things like that. So that's one area that I think we're going to focus on. Another area that we're going to release with the next release, I will say that, since we did add the ability with mobile, and we added the ability to clock into a single job, then with the next release, we're going to give users the ability to clock into multiple jobs at the same time, and then split that time across those production orders or those operations. So that's coming out with the next release. Another one that's kind of cool, and I don't have a date on this, we've been working with the machine learning team. When I used to be in consulting, when I walked into customers' doors, they always told me they thought they were unique, but they weren't, that they didn't know what their costs were. I have no clue what my costs are. So I started thinking about that, and I started thinking about, how could I help users to identify when they had areas of where their cost was not correct. And so we've been working with the machine learning team to look at bills of materials, look at run times if they're reporting actual labor, compare that to what's on the bill of material, and then flag those if they're over or under a certain percentage. And I think that would be useful, not just to figure out, what your costs are, but also to help you with your planning. So if you know that my bill of material says it's going to take me 2 hours to make something, but it always takes me 10, then if we fix that, if we have historical data and we can fix that, then it'll help our planning to get better. It'll also help our costing to get better. So that's another area that we're looking at, but we have mock-ups, and we actually do have data, and we're actually testing with the machine learning engine to kind of build that up. But I don't know when we're going to release it. I'm hoping maybe in the next couple of releases. So those are just a few areas. For me, and I know we got other people that want to talk, but I welcome any feedback. And Angie and I, Angie Rowley, we work very closely together. And if you're out on communities, we're very active on communities. And if you have any questions, if you have any ideas, any topics that you like to discuss, then I just really encourage you to go to communities, because I'm out there all the time. And with every single release, we try to add one thing that everybody is requesting with every single release. That's kind of like my goal that I try to do. So the more votes and the higher priority, then the better the chance it's going to make it out to the product. So anyway.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Debbie, for that insight. We look forward to a lot of those new features that are on the horizon for Acumatica. Is definitely exciting. The one thing that I've heard, from everybody today, between Dennis, Debbie, myself, is the focus on reporting and getting that information out of Acumatica to better make better decisions about what we're doing with products. So I'm going to throw this over to Joni. From an analytics side, what kinds of KPIs or measurements that can really add value to these manufacturing companies, especially right now where we're experiencing global supply chain issues. How do you guys address that with DataSelf?
Sure. And by the way, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Just checking. All right. Chris, thank you. No.
Oh, now we can't.
Try to change here.
There we go. You were frozen. You were frozen for a minute.
Let me remove the video.
Yeah.
Is it better now? Yep. All right. Okay. I'm not going to distract you with the background then. All right. Thank you. So yes, supply chain has been a major issue for many companies lately. There are three main kind of KPIs and dashboards that people have been looking more closely for the past couple of years. Usually, the three main areas one is sales. We're always looking how to better sell your products, have more profitability, and whatnot. The other area is financials. Bunch of financial KPIs, but I think the most.
I feel like we were getting to some good stuff there, and then he froze out again.
Let me see if I can. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, if it doesn't work well, I have Zach to back me up, so I'll get another shot. So inventory is usually the most important area of reporting and analysis. And lately, absolutely, I've heard from many companies that they had to increase their inventory significantly because of the supply chain issues. I mean, some companies increased from 20% to 100% of the regular inventory just to be sure they would not run out of items. So supply chain has been a major nightmare. So everything measuring quantity on hand or in transit, inventory in transit has been a lot of focus. Now, the fun or not so fun problem, is that the whole in transit KPIs became a big issue for many companies because it's being very spotty the way that things work. Mm-hmm. In the past, people were getting information from the vendors, from the shipping companies, and the data was fairly reliable, so they could do inventory planning fairly accurately. Since the pandemic hit, a lot of those data feeds, they become unreliable or not consistent. So not only the time is taking longer to get to the products, but sometimes when they get the actual products, it's not exactly what the vendor claimed that they have shipped. So there's a lot of issues, and in most companies that we've been speaking with, they have been solving these challenges over time by significantly increasing inventory on hand. Some companies that are very interesting is they were looking at the purchasing amounts from location, like from country or from the state. And they were monitoring the lockdown behavior of these countries or the locations. So countries like China or even California, where they're very aggressive with lockdown, they could affect significantly the supply chain. So many companies have to actually, we have to reroute our shipping instead of being from California, coming from another state, because California right now is locking down, it's creating all this confusion, and even truck drivers are not being able to go to the ports. It's been a mess.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been very challenging. If you're having challenges, getting data out of Acumatica, first of all, call your VAR, call like algorithm, DSD, because sometimes you might be missing some functionality that is easy for you to get the job done. If you are over that hump and you really need to go to the next level, many instances that we have helped companies, especially lately, is to automate things that people do a lot in Excel, like inventory planning. Mm-hmm. Many companies, they get the data dumped into Excel, data comes from the vendors, from the shipping companies, from Acumatica, and they put in Excel, they do a lot of calculations and macros to eventually have a forecast of the planning. With solutions like DataSelf and some other vendors out there, you can actually automate the mechanical part of it. So less time crunching the data and more time analyzing the trends. So those are the main KPIs we've seen people working significantly lately. The last one I want to mention also is cash flow. And some of the things that was interesting, people were mentioning that while cash flow has been a challenge because inventory now is holding a lot of their cash, right? But fortunately, especially in the US, money has been easier to get from banks and from institutions. So cash flow is something that I believe in the next few years people have to get rid of those liabilities in inventory. So people are fairly optimistic, even though it's been pretty challenging the last couple of years.
Awesome, thanks, Joni. Definitely, having that information, just like everybody else mentioned, just having that information at your fingertips, being able to see what you have inventory wise, being able to pre-plan with KPIs and dashboards, those types of things, it's just completely invaluable to our customer base. I have a longtime client of mine that's been a manufacturing client that was on a legacy product, and they always make this joke with me is like, now that they don't have to manually calculate this data, they have so much more time to watch YouTube and be able to just watch race cars videos online because the data is just crunching for them automatically. So, putting the effort to put the information into the system, expanding your Acumatica system with manufacturing modules like bill of materials, production entry. I just introduced a client to estimating, which blew their mind because it's just, they never could estimate on the fly, taking an existing BOM and copying it and adding additional, adding additional materials to it, adding additional finishing to it, additional operations, and then getting that estimated cost and marking it up. It completely blew their mind that they could actually go into an opportunity, put that information in, have a business event, send it to the client, to the engineer, so that they could put in the additional information on the estimate, get an estimated price to sell it for, and then automatically come back to that opportunity, updating the opportunity amount. And just having that sense of not having to pick up an email and email your coworker, or especially now with the fact that we're all in this connected manufacturing, or everybody's working remote, we're able to just go ahead and just put that information to Acumatica, and my coworkers who are on the East Coast, they could put that information in and update me on the West Coast, all in real time. So just having those different things, I definitely think that, with all of the employee shortages going on, with the supply chain issues going on, manufacturing edition for Acumatica is definitely the right step for any company that is producing any of their own products. And even if you are using third-party manufacturers or co-manufacturers, Acumatica is great for being able to manage that inventory. We have a good amount of our manufacturing customers that are actually just using co-manufacturers or co-packers to put their product together, whether that's co-manufacturers here in the US or in Europe. It just makes it so much easier to communicate, to inventory plan, and just keep everything kind of, moving along without having the old school methodology of having to email and wait for somebody to respond. Any last words from any of the panel? Dennis, Debbie, Joni, anything else that you guys would like to add before I open it up to any Q&A from the invited folks that are here?
No.
I have a comment for the audience, actually. I have a few of our clients that they were saying that for the past couple of years, especially the last one, they were ordering a lot of items, and the items got after the Black Friday and Christmas season, and they said, well, if you're a consumer, look out for great discounts moving forward, because we have a lot of inventory on hand that we have to get rid of, because usually when the next Black Friday and Christmas comes around, the products we have in stock today are no longer going to be either valid or no longer the hot one. So if you're a consumer right now, it's a good time to pay attention for promotions, because we're going to be burning a lot of inventory cheaply, low cost.
Absolutely.
Low price.
Dennis, were you going to say something?
No, I think that, Joni and Debbie and you all contributed. Really the idea is, how to make the employees more productive. And, that goes back to, there's a book, 3 Signs of a Miserable Job. And one of the keys to people loving their job is knowing the impact they make. And really, by giving them an ERP system like Acumatica, where they have the data and they can actually see, wow, we had record output today. That encourages, loyalty, improves morale, and so, anytime that you've got a connected ERP like Acumatica, it's got more benefits than just the hard dollar efficiency benefits that you see as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to open it up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put that in the chat, or unmute yourself if you have any questions. I'll just open it up here to the floor.
It's a quiet
All
group.
right. Everybody's shy today.
I guess
Well,
so.
At any particular time. Here we go. What is Acumatica or managing JIT? So, Acumatica,
Just in time
just in time.
manufacturing.
Dennis, you want to take that one?
Sure. Could you expand on the question a little bit, Doug? It says, what is Acumatica or managing just in time? I'm not sure I understand.
Trying to type too fast before you guys said goodbye. So my apologies.
No
Yeah.
worries.
How are you guys managing organizations that are all about just in time? It's hitting my warehouse and then running through a manufacturing process in a couple hours, it's shipping out the back door, right? They're not stocking as Joni was saying earlier, people are stockpiling all sorts of stuff for manufacturing. My question is, there's a lot of folks who don't want to stockpile that and avoid that cost that goes forward. And I got to pay money to keep that in a warehouse and do all those types of things. There's a number of people who do JIT, and I'm wondering what capabilities Acumatica brings in terms of managing that piece.
Well, at a high level, and Debbie, you can chime in with more detail here. I think that, the advanced planning and scheduling in Acumatica, with the visibility to where you can actually, plan your production based upon, your routing, throughput times, and the quantity on the work order, so that when you need your material, you can actually, schedule that down to, however granular you want, whether you want to schedule it down to an hour or not, so that you understand when the material for that job is needed based upon the planned production schedule, so that you can then, have that communicated back to your vendor to make sure that they're ready to deliver when you need it. So I think the advanced planning and scheduling has been a great help for a lot of companies that are looking to do that.
Absolutely. And I also just want to add, from a manufacturing, from a production standpoint, Acumatica can be as complex from a production order standpoint to as basic. So we have customers that run a very simple bill of material, or maybe even a simple operation that they're not tracking all of these different, the material comes in, it goes through one operation, it goes out the door. The flexibility of Acumatica not having to do step by step, you can do kind of backflush methodology where we can backflush labor, we could backflush materials, we could do one-step moves that allow us to do all of the material issue, all of the labor transaction, all of the overhead, all in one shot, does help out companies that are really doing just-in-time manufacturing, because we can simplify the data entry process as well. So we have companies that need it complex, where they do these travelers that go from station to station to station, and they have to be tracked individually, or we can do one-step transactions that allow us to just release material, do transactions, labor transactions, overhead transactions, all in one shot, so that we're not waiting, to process these things throughout the day.
Yeah, and with MRP too, on your stock items, you have the ability to set your lot sizes and your minimum order quantities, things like that. I think that will help if you have that historical data where you can, that, these are the order quantities that you need, and then MRP is going to plan those based on that. And then, like Dennis said, using APS, we also have forecasting. So if you have good history and good forecast, I think that could also help as well with just in time. Just a thought.
I also have a thought.
Go for it, Joni.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
All right. So what I've seen is that Acumatica alone or with DISVs, clients use when properly set up for just in time. So I, talk with your Acumatica VAR, discuss your needs and see what it takes to get the right pieces in place to do, to take care of the just in time. On my side, on the KPI that I just mentioned, and because of this webinar, I did another round of calling a bunch of our clients to see how they were doing with the supply chain issue, and only one out of about a dozen or so that I was able to get some answer. Only one told me they're having no issues besides paying extra for shipping. I didn't ask if this client particularly is using just in time, but I would say right now, even if you have a perfect process for just in time, you're probably struggling because there's unless you're putting a lot of things in stock, which is against just in time, you can't do, nowadays, until the whole supply chain gets back to normal, hopefully, it's probably challenging to do the perfect just in time because of supply chain challenges.
Hopefully, Doug, you've gotten a couple of perspectives there. But if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us, on either through the community on Acumatica, community.acumatica.com, or even on our acu-connect site.
Now, Chris, if I could add just one more thing, because
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we go back to what I talked about at the very beginning, it all goes back to the data. And when you look at what is available in Acumatica, so if you're looking at what your schedule is, and what the materials are that are needed at a particular day or a particular time of the day, and you're short, you've got POs out for those, Acumatica really allows you to be proactive and confirm with the vendor that they're going to be on time to start to address some of those transportation supply chain issues that Joni was talking about.
Totally. Any other questions?
Debbie, I have a question for you. You had mentioned about the time allocation with the clock in and clock out coming as a new feature.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that we desperately are struggling with, because it is not feasible for our people to clock in and out of each of our production orders.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not logistically feasible, I should say. And we've looked at a bunch of the different the time clock apps and things that connect in, and again, not great feasible solutions. Do you know when we might see a preview of what you're talking about? Because we're trying to figure out what we do. We just went live with our manufacturing module about a month ago, and we've been running our time clock solution out of our old legacy system.
Well, unfortunately, it's not gonna. It probably won't make the beta release. It'll probably be right down to the RC release. But if you wanted to just see what's in the specification, just so you could see how it's going to work, then if you wanted to send me an email, then I'd be happy to share that with you.
That would be great, Debbie. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Awesome. Everybody, I just want to thank you guys all for spending some time with us to talk about manufacturing, talk about, utilizing Acumatica to help facilitate manufacturing. I want to thank our panel, Debbie, Dennis, Joni, for spending time with us today and providing their insight. Check us out every month for acu-connect. We have different webinars every single month, going over different types of topics. Last month we did retail e-commerce. This month we're doing manufacturing. Just check us out on our website, and then I hope to see you guys on the next one. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.